Hey, family, welcome back to We've Got Issues. It is our regular roundtable discussion about things big and small that impact our daily lives. And we're grateful that you're with us for this episode. As usual, I want to introduce our family here. We've all known one another for 40 or more years. Leading us off here, I'll introduce Darren Gray. He's our main man from Detroit. Ron Evans.
Hey,
My LA brother, and of course my LA sister, Miss Ella Neely. How's it going today?
Peace.
Everybody's in good spirits?
Yes.
All right, we ready to get into
go.
some good stuff? I'm sure everybody out there is looking forward to seeing who's going to lead us off. And today it's going to be we're going to be in the able hands of Miss Ella Neely, and she's going to take us into the topic for today's episode. So Ella, take it away.
How's everybody doing? I'm so happy to be with everybody today. And I'm more than happy to be with my trusted male advisors. And so I like to take this opportunity to ask questions from a man's perspective. And this is a little skewed because this has to do with money. Money.
Oh, yeah.
But all three of you guys are married. And so it makes a little difference. It's a big difference, actually. And, you know, Ron is who has been married the longest. It's a little different, but I'm going to ask some questions. And so, Nick, I have a tape. Could you roll it for me?
Absolutely.
Not roommates, your husband and wife. Preacher
Julie,
said, and now you are one. He did not pronounce you a joint venture.
combining checking accounts, working out of the same pot, together you're a team. Regardless of who brings in the money, it is your money. You guys together as a couple.
You're not roommates, your husband and wife.
Okay. So I listened to that and I almost cringed. I mean, I can't even imagine like putting all my money in one pot. And so I just want to, for you married men, how does that work? How does money work? Do you put all of your money in a pot? What is your philosophy on paying bills or finances? What are your values? What do you think works?
Well, why don't we defer to our elder statesman of marriage to go first, and then Darren, who's probably been married the second longest, and then me. And I think you'll get three different,
very different, yes,
perspectives on it. But
and let's first start with marriage, and then kind of if you're dating. And I know that would come from your friends, what they've told you, but I'm just kind of curious to know, what women should what the expectations should be.
I was going to make a joke about, well, I have a side piece and we keep our money separate.
That's not funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I'm sure your wife would love that.
All the women in my house, they just roll their eyes when I say this stuff. And I'm like, where's my buddy? Where are my buddies? Where are my male friends? They will laugh at this stuff. I've always said that an accountant would never have let us get married because she had zero net worth and I had about $12,000 in student loans. So that's what I brought to the marriage was debt. Because of that, we didn't really have a separate checking account or stuff. I mean, we did, but then we combined them into a joint checking account because we didn't have any money. So that's the way we've always been. All of our accounts are joint accounts. I think my wife does have a bank account that she opened up that she uses to pay some bills, and there's a savings account attached. And like when she would get a bonus or something, it's like, take the money and just put it in there because you don't spend money on yourself. And I have no problem saying, honey, I want to buy something. So it's like, this is the way we're going to make sure we sequester your cash in an account that's not for the family, it's for you, so you can have the money. But that's a joint decision, and it's money that flows into the joint account and then goes out to her personal savings account. And there's a very modest amount in there, and I wish there was more, but she just doesn't spend money on herself. Most of the things she spends money on are family related, or house related. So it comes out of the joint account. I completely agree with the clip and what Dave Ramsey said. We when you walk down that aisle, it's like money is a minor thing, because you're already saying, I'm going to spend the rest of my life with you. And it's not your money or my money, it's our money. Now, if we don't have values, the same values, which I think is the bigger issue, then we get into problems. Then we get into people buying stuff and hiding it in their trunks. We get into people, we had a couple in this neighborhood that got a divorce. And one of the reasons was he was unemployed for a very long time. And she's like, yo, I got my checking account and I'm contributing money to the joint account. Where's your money at? Mm-hmm. As if like the fact that he's unemployed is his problem, not the family problem. So it's always been joint. We had the benefit of getting married young when we were broke. So we built from there, and I couldn't see, the advice I always give people is joint accounts. So that way it's your money. I mean, it's both of your money, not one person's money or the others, because people will start getting all sorts of ways about, well, where's your money at? I got money for a vacation. Where's your money for the family vacation? So that's what I think.
So I kind of figured yours would be like that because you guys got married so young.
Yeah.
And you grew. So you grew in a relationship.
Yep.
But I see that flip side of my money, your money. I know that I know some young people, they're in their 40s, and the woman has a good job. They have 3 kids, and the man is unemployed. He can't find work. He can't get work. And the burden is all on her to financially support the family. Mm-hmm. And what do you do in that situation? Because I mean, it's like, because as a mother, you still have to do those mother things, but also then all of the money is supposed to come from you, and the person's not putting an effort out to get a job. It's hard for me to swallow that that's our money.
But that's not a financial issue. That's a relationship issue.
Isn't it both?
Well, the financial issue is a byproduct of homeboy needs to get off the couch and go get a job. Okay, and then that's where the tension lies, is he's not working, so he's not, hate to say it again, Darren, but he's not leaving the cave and killing something. He's sitting there waiting for the wife to bring back the bounty.
He's lying.
Well, but it doesn't matter because it's our money, right? I don't have to show up or do anything.
Well, let me dive in for a second, because I hear what you're saying, Ron, and Ella. I think there's a practical part of this question and there's a relational part, right? So if you guys are married, the financial issue is a shared one, right? It's like it's going to be a problem for you both if one of you is out of work, right?
Yep.
So
yes,
it's a family problem. But the fact that one person may not be motivated to contribute is the relational part, right? And if that's broken, if the relational part is broken, it's going to ultimately impact the financial, which will break down the family. And I'm gonna defer to Darren. I'm gonna toss over to Darren. I'm just gonna throw my brief 2 cents in, which is that I was once told because this is my second marriage. Is maybe you guys don't know, but it's at home. But you guys all know here. When I was in relationship counseling with my first marriage, she said something that I believe is true to this day, and it has to do with finances and everything else. There is no right and wrong. There's whatever you agree to. So that's the mantra that I go by. I won't get into how we do ours just yet, but I think that is what I think is a wise way to be. No right or wrong. It's whatever you agree to, but you have to follow the agreement. So Darren, why don't you jump into how you guys handle it?
So for us, all family money is all money, but we have a bunch of different accounts for different reasons. And, we have his, hers, and our accounts. Our mortgage comes out of its own account. There's nothing else that comes out of that account but the mortgage. And so that is always there because that's just the way I was always raised. I have an account for online stuff so that if it gets compromised, they only get a certain amount. And so we have different accounts. My wife has an account for her hobbying things that if she wants to go buy something. So it's always been all money that comes in is ours, but we put it in different places for different purposes. And we keep each other informed on our expenditures. There's no veto power either way. If she wants to buy something, she can buy something. If I want to buy something, I can buy something. We just keep an open line of communication, and that's just how it's always been. Even when we were married the first time, it's always been his, hers, and ours. And my first marriage was the same thing, his, hers, and ours. All money coming to the house is everybody's, but how you decide to spend it depends on what your priorities are. So, and then in terms of your friend, the advice that I give my nieces primarily is make better choices.
Well,
you gotta make better choices.
Yeah, but okay, but you're in a marriage and you have 3 kids. So now what would be the advice?
Well, if you're in a marriage with 3 kids, you still got to make better choices. You got to make a choice as to what it is that you're willing to do. Now, if you're willing to continue as things are, then keep doing that. But you can still choose something different. You just have to make better choices. And not doing anything is a choice until itself. Mm-hmm. And so you are an adult. There are legal things that are in place. You just have to make some choices. And if you're content with where you are and complaining about it or talking to your friends about it helps you to cope with it, then do that. But if you want to make a change, do that too.
Darren, I think before you go on, Ella, I just think to clarify for those who are watching, tell us about the history between you and Alex. Like how long you guys been together total, and then most recently, how long you've been together?
So we got married in 1997, and then we got divorced in 2004, and then got back together 2005, remarried in 2008.
You guys have been together almost 20 years, married again almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you have your thing set up has been this way from the beginning.
Yeah, money was never the problem. No, money was never the problem.
But your structure has been this way since you got married again.
And even in my first marriage, it was the same way.
Got you. Okay.
So essentially you subscribe to the way Ron household does their finances.
Yeah, all money coming in the house is everybody's. And although there is a caveat that my mother and my wife and my sisters, they all subscribe to it. Every woman needs to have her emergency funds to get out. It's just something that women, because of, you just always have to have money. If you need to bail because you have an abusive husband or whatever, you need to have a set aside some money so that you can pop smoke if you need to, just because our society, it's not as bad now, but there were times where men, you could beat their wives and some consequences, domestic violence.
And they do that now.
Yeah, at least now after the OJ thing, there's at least the police have to do something. But because men are physically stronger and dominate society, all women need to have an escape hatch. And I believe does that
mean that when your check comes in that you put a money to the side for your wife?
Well, whatever money that she wants to spend,
or when he goes off.
Well, let's say she has $100 that she wants to blow every month. She needs to take some of that, squirrel it away. So whatever money that she has in her, whatever she wants to do, and she does. And my mom did that. My sisters all do that because, even with the best of men, if you get a concussion, it can change your personality. And all of a sudden, a good guy can become abusive. And so women need to have an escape. They need to be able to pop smoke and just leave, walk out the door, leaving no trace. And, especially if you have young children, you got to protect your life may be at risk. So that's just something that I think all women should have. It's just, going back.
The things we learn on this podcast.
Like the term pop smoke. I've never heard that one.
And all women should have a Go Fund.
It's interesting that the Go Fund wasn't something that he was contributing to. It was like, if you got extra money, then put some of your extra money aside. It wasn't like, here, this is something that you need to. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, pop smoke is a military term, Nick. You know, when you want exfil, you pop smoke so they know where you are. It's pop smoke bail.
Gotcha. So it sounds like to me that both Ron and Darren, there's no moral implication on how you divvy money. This is a straight practical and relational thing. There's no you should do this or you should do that, right?
Well, I'm not sure that Darren and I think there's overlap of the Venn diagrams. I'm not sure there's complete overlap. So, for example, if your wife wanted to, well, no, if you wanted to buy an 85-inch TV and you had the money in your fund, and would you be able to do that without consulting her?
Well, I could, but I wouldn't.
Say a little bit more. What would you do? Would you let her know, or
I was like, hey, I want to go buy 85-inch TV, and then she may say something like, you're gonna have to get it mounted on the wall. She is my advisor, my counselor, and the one who I go to for advice.
what if she said you need a new refrigerator?
Huh?
What if she said, Darren, we need a new refrigerator. Why are you buying the TV? Let's buy the refrigerator first.
If we need a new refrigerator, then I would take her counsel and buy the refrigerator. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she is the person I trust the most.
So what's the point of having separate accounts if you have joint decision on expenditures?
It's more to make sure that the money that is needed for certain things, like the mortgage, always gets paid. Nothing comes out of that account but the mortgage, so that there's never a chance of, oh man, that subscription to Netflix came out before the mortgage. None of that ever happens in the mortgage account. And the bill paying account, all those bills, it has to do with making sure that the things that need to get paid without any interruption.
It's a big accounting job for you guys every month to cycle all the money.
I got a massive spreadsheet.
Yeah, boy, that's one way of doing it.
And you don't want if your online purchases, if it gets compromised, you don't want that impacting. Like if they break into my account that I used to buy stuff online, and that's happened before, they're only going to get certain. They're not cleaning me out. They're just going to get a teeny bit. The rest of the account will go online.
No, I agree with your strategy of certain accounts have a debit card, others don't. I totally get that. My question was, what's the purpose of having separate accounts for your own personal money if ultimately for purchases like a TV or refrigerator, you're going to make the joint decision anyway? So why not put the money in the joint
account? The refrigerator would come out of the household account.
Like the TV would come out of your personal account?
No, it comes out of the household account because it's a household appliance.
The TV is a household appliance?
Yeah, everything that's, no, the refrigerator would be a household appliance. It would not come out of the TV account.
Okay. So all your wants, not needs, comes out of your personal account?
Yeah.
What if your want is the same price as a need and there's no money in the need account?
Well, there's always money. The need account always gets priority. There's always going to be money in the need account. Always. Before the want account.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think there's as much, discrepancy as you might say. I think the question's a good one. Like if
I want to buy a $95,000 car,
right? So if Darren, you're going to go to Alex about your want. I perceive that a lot of your wants that are in your personal account, you don't need Alex's input on it. Like, oh, I want to buy a new bow tie. I don't know, or some sneakers, whatever. There's no discussion about that. You just go do it. But if it's big enough, you would get her counsel.
Yeah. Absolutely. I would get her counsel, but I would even get her counsel on the small things. Because she's my most trusted person, and I would ask her, like, what do you think about this? And she'll go, nah, or maybe you shouldn't, or you go ahead. Same thing with her. She's like, oh, I'm going to buy this stamp for my scrapbooking. Well, she doesn't, she may or may not tell me, but it doesn't matter to me one way or the other.
Right. Yeah, it sounds like it matters more to you than it does to her. Like you caucus with her more about what you're buying.
Absolutely.
Okay. What we do is we have a threshold, and it's arbitrary, but basically if there's any purchase over $200, we discuss it. Just a heads up. hey, I'm going to spend money on this. It's over $200.
And that's because it's coming out of the same joint account. Yeah.
It's a courtesy. It's nothing more than that. Usually my wife says, I don't care.
Mm.
But it's a courtesy.
Right. So just to, inform on my situation, my wife and I have been married 8 going on 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so we came into the marriage as full grown adults with completely different lives, completely different income streams, and completely different retirements, and completely different, like, all of that stuff. Right. So essentially, like Ron and Darren, all money is house money, right? We're in this together.
Mm-hmm.
But functionally, how it goes is that we have separate accounts. She has accounts that are her accounts. I have accounts that are my accounts. Typically, the bills and so forth are paid out of my accounts. She may contribute money to my account so that we, share in whatever to whatever proportion we need to. But when it comes to spending money on things outside of the house, she doesn't have to, get my sign off, nor do I. If we're doing something jointly together, like a vacation or whatever, and we need to both contribute additionally to make that happen, that's what happens. So it's very, very straightforward and so forth, and doesn't cause any friction on that end. I think when people get together and they're later in life, and they've got their own situation, it makes more sense to have some blending, but also some separation, just because, for whatever reason. But some people may decide to throw it all in together. I don't think that's wrong either. It's whatever everybody agrees to.
And one more thing, Ella, that I don't know if I shared this before. When my wife took off work to take care of my grandkids, one of the conditions was that I had to pay her what she was getting paid from the job that she left. So every month I would transfer whatever her net was from her job to her account, so that she would continue to be able to spend the way she wanted to spend.
Mm-hmm.
But all the money is the same, right?
Yeah, but she wanted her money going to her account, the amount that she would get to spend. She didn't want anything to change because she wasn't working. She still wanted that deposit into her account of what she was able to spend before.
So do you have a
philosophy? I'm so
on this,
confused. I'm sorry. Well,
do you have a philosophy on this?
Do I have a philosophy? Like you said, it's like whatever you guys agree to. All I have is my experience, and it's different. Like, if you start off with somebody, I'm more like you, coming into a relationship, and after 50, 60 years, and then how to combine it all. And I've had more situations where the person's like, well, financially, I can't do X, Y, and Z. You have more money than me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not running to put all of my money in a joint account for somebody else to like spend it. I mean, I've worked hard for this. And so maybe it's a male female thing, but it's one thing to build something. It's another thing for me to say, I can't even do it for my child, for me to say, okay, well, we're together now, so what's mine is yours. Yeah, I can't do that.
What's your thought on prenups?
I would definitely get one.
Listen, the truth is that the biggest pain point in most relationships is going to be financial, right? And so that's the reason why people, oftentimes break up.
Number one reason for divorce.
Yeah. And going forward, this issue of leaving the cave that Ron likes to refer to, both for men and for women, is going to be harder than it's ever been, because there's going to be more people laying people off, more companies laying people off, fewer jobs to go around, more people having to do more with less. And so, this is a concern. This is an issue. And particularly for young people too, which is a real desperate problem, is that to be able to start to build the kind of wealth to create a family is going to be harder for more younger people. So people of our age, I think it's even more imperative to be really savvy about who you pair up with, to Darren's point about making better decisions. Because if you're with somebody who you may love to death, but their ability to navigate the financial aspects of the world we live in are going to be compromised, you may have to make some business decisions.
Well, I mean, I kind of lead by that to make an assessment as to one of the things that I've found is that I'm the one that initiates conversations about finances, because I think that finances are core to a relationship. And I don't want to be the one that always has to do that. And so it's like, well, how are we going to do this? How is this going to work? And it's not like I'm struggling, but I'm just looking for guidance as to different possibilities as to how I can navigate this, because it's an issue.
So I'm curious. You say that you're the one that usually brings up money.
Mm-hmm.
How early into the dating process do you size up their net worth and their income?
Size up. So I'll just say the last relationship I was in, and it was somebody that I knew for a long time. And they actually lived out of state. And so they came and they were at my house. Right. And so then it became a question of, and so they had their stuff. They had a house in the state that they lived in. Mm-hmm. It's like, so how, what are we doing? How are we financially moving forward? I mean, because you can't live for free. Am I supposed to, you're living here? Am I supposed to, it's like, I had to initiate the conversation, and then it's like, what are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
And this is
a problem with having to do that, Ella? Is that
I don't have a problem with it, because I'm going to do it, because, you have people that are in your space. There's extra utilities and all that. But I mean, if we're serious about having a relationship, and we're going to, if you're going to live here, like, how are we going to finance this?
Yes, I agree.
And so at the point in which you're here, then it's like, I'm trying to get it as soon as possible. I mean, I'm having this conversation as immediately, because what are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's biblical, you find someone that's equally yoked. Mm. And that has been so true from my experience. And when I look at other couples that worked out or didn't work out, do they have the same or similar values and goals? And Elle, what I was told by someone, she's Indian, and her father gave her some advice. She was in her 20s at the time, and the advice was, if you start getting serious with a man, ask him for his credit score. And at first I thought, that's terrible. Why would you ever do that? And then as my older daughter got older, I started reflecting on it. I'm like, you know what? That is a great idea, because it indicates at its core, does this person understand how to manage money and revolving credit? Will this person be a burden on you, a drag on you, or will they be, hopefully, someone that understands the importance of paying off debt, paying their credit cards on time, paying their car on time, they don't have a house that's repossessed or whatever. So if I were in the dating world, I think I'd ask about the TRW or experience.
I'm showing your age, man. TRW.
The experience report, the credit report, because it is a indicator of, is there a compatibility with this person on money, which is the most biggest cost for divorce.
Something that struck me a while, I think in one of our prior episodes, reflecting, is if you look at like class level, like we're all middle class or upper middle class or millionaires or what have you.
Don't upset Ella.
I know. Some of us are lower upper class, but when I look back at my dating, I always dated from the class from which I came, not the class to which I was in, because I had more in common with people who came from a similar background than I do with people who I share the class level with now.
So you dated in a lower class? Is that what you're saying?
Well, in the same, so I don't want to use lower class, but the socioeconomic class that I came from, which was a rung below where Ron was.
No. I learned in sociology at SC that I was upper lower class.
Yeah, I was not upper lower class.
We're gonna compare suffering now.
I was not upper lower class.
I'm sorry, Dick. Try to play along with our struggle as if you can understand and relate to it.
But I was not upper lower class. We were not there. But what I noticed was I have more in common with people who came from similar circumstances than with people that are in like my current friend circle, because our experiences are different. My fears are rooted, my life is rooted in the life that I had before. And the people, my first wife, my current wife, we all came from the same space. And we have similar values and similar ideals about things. It's just the way it's always been. And when I was in the dating world and I dated people who were in my contemporary, it was always a struggle because they had a different view of things than I did. And they had no idea what I was talking about. None. Zero.
Because Darren just can't let the past go.
Because it also means that you have to
that he was born in, right? So,
but it also means that you have to expand and think bigger than where you were. And a lot of times that's hard. I think women are much more, I think about having this conversation with women, like older women, they'll say something like, oh yeah, you should give everybody a chance. And I don't believe that works. I believe that you have to be equally yoked, that you have to have the same kind of ambition, that you have to, even something as one of the reasons why I don't date now is because I have things that I want to accomplish. And, there's only so much time in a day. And in order to have a relationship, you have to nurture it. And so if I am a self-employed woman and I'm trying to build stuff and I am with a guy who's not going to pay my bills and I'm not asking him to, and it takes all the time that I have to like work to maintain financially my life, then when do I have time to like date?
So question, are the partner you're looking for, it's okay. Is it okay if they are corporate job or doctor or attorney? They're not ambitious, but they have a high income. Ooh. You've already given your answer.
Well, no, because I've come to realize that I want somebody that I can grow with, that we kind of like the same types of things so I don't know that a doctor is good for me because we just have totally different professions, totally different things that are like, I went to visit an electrician, and he had warehouses, and he has a big electrical company. And I was like, this is what I need. Somebody who like is in construction, who has their own stuff, who has their own business, who has their own buildings, where I can come and grow with them. And it's not like I always feel like I have to lift somebody else, that we could expand together. And so
expand your common businesses or expand your relationship.
See, in previous relationships, it's been that I'm the one that had the most.
Yeah, but in the example I gave you, it's a doctor, an attorney, it's a corporate executive.
Yes,
they have the same as you do.
Yes,
they have the same net worth as you do, or more. But they don't have a business.
That's fine.
No, you shook your head and said that's fine.
That's fine.
I'm settling.
Yeah,
That's fine.
that one, Ella.
It's like, when you work for somebody, you just have a different mentality than somebody who is a
An entrepreneur.
founder or entrepreneur.
Most people work for somebody else. I don't even understand how you could exclude.
You're looking for a male Ella. That's what you're looking
I
for.
am.
You're from
I
Mella.
am.
A Mella.
Right.
And it's
Hey.
true. Most people do, but that I don't know that necessarily works for me.
But you, as Nick has just pointed out, you have eliminated like 98% of the population. And then
At the point at which I decided that they can't drink alcohol, there went 90-something% of it as well. So yeah.
No, but let's unpack what's really going on here. I stipulated that the man has the same income, the same net worth, but is not a business owner, and you can't get with that. So does that speak to not the same values, or what exactly is missing from this person that you're turned off by?
I'm not turned off. It depends on the person. You have to evaluate every situation.
No,
You never
don't
know.
hedge. Don't hedge. Go with your
I'm
original
hedging
answer.
because you just never know. I mean, would it be? I just don't know. Let him come. Let me meet him.
Yeah,
No.
Let me see.
But you're going to discount him because he doesn't have a complementary business that can help your business grow.
Yeah.
Fantasy goes on. Okay, so I want to transition.
No.
Let's move on.
Okay, so I have another question. So one of my friends, because most of the friends that I have are men, and so this is a business owner, and he has all this resentment towards his wife. His wife basically has a 9-to-5 job. She's secure, and she has a pension, and he has his own company, and he doesn't manage his money properly, and he's always asking to borrow money from her, and she says no. And so he says, you could go in your 401k and pull out money, and she's firm about it. She's like, no. And so he has a resentment because in his mind, it's like, this is our money. And if I'm in need, then you should help me. How do you guys feel about that?
I feel you should push up on him because he's a business owner.
Right.
But he doesn't manage his money.
Oh, but he's a business owner, Ella.
No. But
well, in terms of, it's like Ron said before, that's a relationship problem. That's not a money problem. And it goes back to what I said. You got to make better choices. If his resentment for her is that she won't invest in his business, then he's got a choice to make. If her being frustrated at him not running his business the way he should run his business, then she's got a choice to make. So it's not a money issue, it's a relationship issue.
Yeah. How long have they been married, Ella?
probably like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah. What kind of business does he have?
Construction.
Yeah.
But he's a bad money manager. He
Clearly,
doesn't manage money.
If he wants her to dip into the 401k and take a 10% penalty and then pay ordinary income taxes on the money she takes out, clearly he doesn't have any financial literacy. So, yeah, he doesn't understand money.
Well, I'm just trying to understand because, I kind of feel the same way that you, for instance, he said, I had to buy this truck and I needed a cosigner and she wouldn't cosign. I said, well, okay, at the point in which you have to have somebody cosign it, then you don't manage your money right. I mean, why would she do that?
100%.
Why would she do that? But, we're married. That's what she's supposed to do.
Well, I mean, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. The problem is that maybe they should not have gotten married. Maybe she should not have agreed to marry him, given his financial situation, because I assume she's around the same age as you, maybe a little older.
I think she's young. I think she might be 10 years younger or something.
Okay.
But yeah, exactly.
Therein is the problem, because the money thing is not going to go away. The one thing that I have observed about people is that typically they do not change. So
Okay.
it could be that he becomes a better manager of money and time,
No.
or it could be that this dogs him the rest of their relationship. So these are the things you have to suss out, or she's going to have to give, or he's going to have to get better. But typically, neither one of those things is going to happen, and it's going to be a problem.
So Nick, I mean, I agree, and I think, you know, as we are all saying, this is not a financial problem. This is a relationship problem, and she chose poorly. And I'll just say that when my wife and I got married, I started a new job the next week, and she was working in Pasadena for maybe 3 months before the wedding. And we both said that we're going to take 20% of our pay and fund the 401k and 403b. And we're just not going to see the money, and it's just going to grow, you know, whatever. But that in itself was a joint decision that we had to have common values on. What are we trying to do here? Are we trying to buy the BMW and live for today, or are we trying to build something for the future? If you guys aren't fundamentally seeing money the same way, the relationship is dead on arrival. And I think what your girlfriend is experiencing is she maybe didn't suss out what is this guy's values on money and saving for the future, investing for the future. And now she's in it, and he's not as successful a businessman as she had hoped. Now he's trying to like get lines of credit from his wife through the 401k. And she's like, yeah, I'm going to hemorrhage. You're going to bring me down, basically.
Mm.
And there is something I have told both of our daughters, and I think I mentioned it to you, Ella, while you were here. And that is, for a woman, I can be broke on my own. I don't need a man's help. And women need to understand, if he ain't pulling his load, you could be broke on your own. You don't need him dragging you down. Right. And that's how I feel about what she's going through.
Well, actually, he's my friend. She's not. I don't even know her. I just think. So I listen to his woes and say, why would she do that? So I'm on her side, and he doesn't want to hear that because, you know, when you have friends, they're supposed to take your sides. But I'm like, you know, why would she do that? You need to manage your money better. She's not. So I guess this is this is the question. So when you marry somebody, I guess you really have to have a firm understanding of their finances, because if you marry somebody that has a business, then is the expectation that you're supposed to help fund that business if they need help. And so that's where it's like, what is the expectation of the spouse? Because you have a regular job. This person might have problems. Is the expectation that you're supposed to help fund that if they have problems?
Well, it's a conversation that you have to have before. It's like Nick was, you know, in his premarital counseling. You know, I see the same thing with women who marry artists. You know, musicians or artists who, you know, may have a big score or may go years with nothing. All that needs to be discussed ahead of time. You need to have a very good sense of what you're getting into before you make the decision to walk down the aisle. You know, here in the U.S., you know, there's a lot of emotion that goes into marriage and relationships. In other part of the world, that is not the case. There is a examination of wealth, of family. There's a lot more that goes into, because, you know, you also don't want to marry into a family that has some severe dysfunction as well. So all that has to happen ahead of time. You know, we tend to go with our Western version of love and feelings. But that's not how most of the world exists.
If I agree, Darren, and I think Ella, you know, it is both of their money on some level. But if my wife came downstairs now and said, honey, I want to start an airplane company to compete with Boeing, it's not my obligation to drain our 401k for some crazy idea that's going to have no chance of success.
Well, how about something that's more realistic? I mean, that's not realistic. What if it's something that, you could afford if you
Well,
chose to?
yeah, but then the question is, okay, fine. You're clearly in a negative cash flow situation. That's why you need money. Has this been going on forever? Or is this a momentary downturn? What are the prospects of turning this around? Or is this really a hobby because you're not making any money?
Right. And Ron, because we have to be mindful of your time too, because I think we're running a little bit short on time.
We can go a little bit longer.
Yeah,
It's a good conversation.
I'll throw my 2 cents in from a practical standpoint. When my wife and I got married, I owned income property, right? When that income property needs renovation, repairs, there's a vacancy and the cash flow is interrupted or whatever, it's not my expectation that she's going to have to fill in the gap. I have to make that work, right? I have to either come up with the money or I have to move the money around or whatever the case may be. Same thing with her and her. My wife's an entrepreneur, right? At the same time, if I did ask because she knows my track record, I would expect that she would say, "Yeah, Nick, I'm happy to do what I can for you." Same thing with her and her business. I'd be happy to, because I've seen her track record, I'd be happy to invest whatever in her situation. But that's because of who she is and because of who I am. But if I didn't feel that way or she didn't feel that way, she's under no obligation, nor am I, to throw good money after bad. So,
Well said.
Isn't one of our friends in a similar situation with that way, where the wife has a business and the business does well from time to time, and then has downturns, and then that person has to pick up the finances. He has a very stable job with the pension and everything, I think they run into that as well, where he makes sure that all the fundamentals are met, and he has to make sure that that they're saving and paying bills, and they have some rental property. So I think it's workable, but they had a serious conversation about it every time, and it's always a serious conversation about what's this going to cost us, where are we going to be in terms of our finances. And so I think it's choosing right in the beginning and maintaining that conversation and communication all over.
Well, I'd like to think that, and that, Darren, that's a great example. And in that couple's example, or in our examples, people may have different income streams, but it's still a family balance sheet. And, and Nick gave a great example of, if there's a shortcoming on one side of the family, I know the person, I know the history, I know they're trying to get that money right. Absolutely, here's a loan. That's a very different situation than, I've only been married a couple years, and I don't feel like I should drain the family balance sheet to fund something that I don't think is going to be successful, and it's going to jeopardize our future and the growth of this balance sheet by doing so.
I think this is all very helpful. Thank you. I think that, I think for a young person or anybody, you really have to know the person that you are involved with. And I think a lot of times people get involved emotionally and they don't take, because you can love anybody, but should you love that person? That's the question. And so for us that have daughters, it's like there's a lot of information that you need to acquire to make sure that this person is the right person for you, because a person can make you or they can break you.
Great.
And a lot of times, you see people after they've gotten beaten down, because it's hard to, manage all of, if you have a family and then you have this financial stress. And so I want to say thank you for this. I have another question as it relates to money, because I'm just kind of taken aback by these situations where men and women are getting a divorce, and the man is of means, but the woman has more means than him, and they're asking for spousal support. And I just want to know what your position on that is.
Well, there's the legal position in the state of California, which is, it's a community property state, and whoever makes more gives more. My personal philosophy is, and both times I got divorced, the guy who founded Ike and Tina Turner, I used to tutor his daughter, and he got divorced a couple of times, and he said, I'll give you everything you want. I'll go make more. And that was always my philosophy, which is if you were married to me and you're divorcing, clearly you need some reparations, because I must have done something wrong. So, like, you take what you need to get back on your feet, and I will deal with the financial issues on my end, because it had to have been my fault. Because that was just my philosophy.
Yeah, I don't subscribe to the. Go ahead,
To clarify, Ella, are you asking our view on alimony, or the man asking for alimony because the woman makes more?
That the latter.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he doesn't necessarily need it. He just wants it because he can, and she makes more money. I mean, we have so many celebrities out there right now who are dealing with these same situations where the man wants the money because he can.
But that's why I was asking about a prenup, which is
but that's not the question.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you have to make better choices. You know the laws of the state you're in.
I got it.
And so you choose.
Just don't want to lose focus.
I don't subscribe 100% to the Darren Gray school of divorce.
You get your alimony.
Because I mean, the legal part is there, but oftentimes when people are splitting up, there's a lot of emotion around like getting some kind of extra dig or whatever the case may be. But it sounds like you're looking at people who may just be trying to be more opportunistic. It's not that their heart is broken and they put their life into this relationship and they feel like they deserve some whatever. They're like, well, the state of California says that if you make more, you should give more. So that becomes another example of the character of the person that is whatever. I know that to Darren's point, exactly. The reason why I left my first marriage is exactly that reason why I was like, you know what? I could spend the rest of my life playing defense, trying to protect what I built from someone who will burn it up, basically. Or I can say, I'm going to give you what you need because I'm going to go out there and be the person that I need to be. And so I think if you happen to be married to someone and that person is a man who's willing to say, you know what, I'm going to extract as much from this as I can be. That's the lesson you have to learn for choosing badly, right? And that's just the way it is. But as the man, if I'm speaking to the man, I'm like, yo, bro, come on. If you can't go out there and be better and do better, then I feel some kind of way about you. It's just how I feel about it.
Nick, I'm going to be more blunt. There is a certain term for a man that sits at home, does nothing, and collects money from a woman. So especially if I could stand on my own 2 feet, I think that's just trifling. And it makes me feel a certain way too, because you're just being vindictive at that point.
Well, Ella didn't say the person was sitting home letting away. He's like, okay, I make money. My wife makes money. She happens to make more. So if we split up, she should pay me more. So let's just say he's able-bodied and gainfully employed and whatever, but he still wants to do that. I feel like you were lazy in the relationship and you're lazy on the way out.
Okay, so
you guys are saying the same thing.
Ella, Nick, let me amend it for your sensitive ears. The man is going to go to work, but he has a side hustle, which is to collect checks from a woman.
There you go.
There's still the same name for that.
But even still, that's why for both men and women, you have to choose better.
Yes.
You have to make that choice. And if you don't, you have to deal with the consequences knowing that it's your fault that you are in that situation. You may not like it, but you make that choice. When people say he did this or she did that, I'm like, well, that's who they were from the beginning. You didn't want to see it, but that's fine. Deal with the consequences of your actions, because that happens in every other aspect of life. The job you choose, where you decide to live, choose better. And you're not stuck in that situation. You may not like the impact of having to extricate from yourself in that situation. But like Nick said, comes a point in time where you like, I can deal with this for the next 50 years, or I can deal with this for the next 5. And I'd rather just cut it off and deal with it now. That's just the way life is. You have to choose better always. Every day, everything has to be a better choice.
I mean, and it's hard to say when you've been in a marriage for 5 years, sorry, you chose poorly, because I do think there's a path forward, but it means that both partners have to want to go to both marriage counseling first and foremost, and then some type of financial literacy training like Dave Ramsey's baby steps, so they at least get on have some similar values and get some counseling, because they're not on the same page and it's manifesting through money.
Oh, that's just the early manifestation, right?
End of the day, I think that for a single woman of any age, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, that wants to be in a relationship, you're going to have you risk 2 types of pain. There's the pain of being alone, or there's the pain of being in a bad relationship. Mm-hmm. And the pain of being alone is far less than the pain of being in a bad relationship. Trust and believe. And if women
you don't have to tell me, I know.
Women who've been married don't even learn that lesson. They go back and they make oftentimes the same mistake again, get with the same kind of guy again, or run past the same red flags, thinking that somehow it's better to be even in a bad relationship than to be alone. And that's usually not the case.
And for my mentees, what I usually tell them is, you already know what you need to do. You're just deciding if you want to deal with the consequences of dealing with it. Mm-hmm. And, it's your choice.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that. So I just have one more question about dating. So what is it? So what is the expectation? And I guess you guys would have to get this from your male friends about finances, as far as, when you go on a date, is it Dutch, or is the man supposed to pay? I mean, how does that work?
I think with the younger generation, it's different. In my entire dating life and those of the folks that I know, they just pay. That way it's a non-issue. If I know I'm paying now, we're not going to a Michelin 5-star or anything like that. But if it's a non-issue, then it just becomes a non-issue. And, there's not like, I'm paying, hoping I'm gonna get something at the end of the night. None of that stuff. It's like, I'm paying because that's how I was raised. And that's what how my mom raised me. Is like, you just pay. There's no Dutch. You just pay.
But I think that this society is very different.
Yeah.
They don't think, men don't think like that anymore.
No,
they're trying to get spousal support.
The Tinder age.
I hope you're wrong, Ella. That would be sad if men don't think about picking up the check.
Oh,
at least sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I think you can be flexible. I don't think that it has. I think that if you're courting someone, and you're asking them out to do whatever, then you should be prepared to pay for that. But you shouldn't. There's no rule that says a woman can't say, "Hey, well, I really like what you've, I want to take you out tonight, or I want to go to this concert. I'm inviting you to whatever." I don't think a man has to turn that down, but I don't think he should be relying on that as the basis of their courting romance.
Yeah. Okay. Although my wife never reaches for the check, just so you know. Yeah. She'll walk right out.
It's like, Darren, handle that. I'll be
Except on my birthday, she might.
All right. So I have a question for Nick and Darren. Ella, you can't answer. You and Ella decide to go to a restaurant. You invite Ella to a restaurant. We're all friends, but it's just Nick invites Ella separately. Darren invites Ella separately. Ron invites Ella separately. Check comes. How do you handle the check with a friend?
Oh,
Typically, we split it.
Okay,
Well,
that's
it's
a
different.
split.
It's different for friends. Like with my mentees, I pay.
Bruh, answer the
But with
question.
my friends, I don't think I have ever gone anywhere with a female friend alone. I don't think I have ever done that. So I
Okay. We'll unpack that at another episode.
Ron, let me give you an example.
But you're saying they invited me to go, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they
listen,
invited. Okay.
So listen, I had lunch with Greg on Friday. All right, our friend.
Are you outing him? What are you?
Let me. Okay. I'm sorry. Roll that back. I had lunch with a mutual friend on Friday, which I invited him to go.
Mhm.
Should I pay for that lunch because we made plans to go to lunch? Should I pick up the check?
Well, when he and I go out to lunch, it's like I got it. It's just we don't even think about it. It's like we go like, oh no, I got this one.
You take turns.
Right.
We don't even take turns. It's just like whoever gets to the check first pays.
So there's no rule on it.
No, there's no rule.
No rule. Okay. So now you.
But I don't go.
Are you coming around to my question?
But I think I talked about it in a prior episode. I don't have very many female friends.
Yes, we have a dedicated episode.
We've got that policy. So
that would be odd. I don't think I'd even be. I'm like, I know Ella for 40 years. I don't know if I'd be comfortable going to.
That's beside the point.
Let me finish my reasoning here. So there's no two guys getting together for lunch. There's no rule. Now I invite Ella to lunch. Mm-hmm. Right? Is there a rule?
That's the question.
So
asking my own question.
Again, my response is depending on, because there's a world in which I might invite Ella to lunch and have say keep your wallet in your pocket. You're not paying. Same way I would have anybody. I could invite you, Darren. There's a situation by which it could be that way, but it's not. There's no rule that says that if I'm inviting any friend, male or female, to lunch, who's going to pay. That's my feeling on it. Right. The important thing is that we got together. That was the important thing. Who's going to pay is inconsequential. Unless one is saying, by all means, no, I got this, like Darren said, or you said, I got this, or the other person, whatever. I mean, there's no rule on it in my thing.
So I would probably say, if you invited me, I would say, well, it's not in my budget to eat out. And I'd kind of put it out there, which means that I'm not going to pay. If you said, oh, yeah, that's not a problem. But I would just say that I can't afford it.
Great.
Because it's not in my budget.
Anyway, I got you.
Yeah. And I'm serious when I say that, because I got a budget. I stick to my budget, and eating out is not one of the things that I do.
Fine.
So I definitely respect that. If I'm inviting a female friend out, I'm picking up the tab. I think that chivalry is not dead, and I think that a man should pick up the tab. Now, I had plenty of situations like this where the woman and the friends, my kid's sister, she'll grab the check before I will, and I'm like, okay, you got this one, but I got the next one. But I have an expectation that I'm always picking up the tab for dinner, because that's what a guy does.
And that's interesting, because when we came to Virginia, you guys have this tradition where it's like, you fly, we buy. And yeah. And the thing, it was kind of hard, because it was like Courtney was saying, no, I'm going to buy your food. And it's like, no, I mean, I didn't feel comfortable with that, because, she's a woman, and it was something about, we should pay our own way. And so that like took me a minute to like say, okay, it's okay for you to pay for me. So
yeah,
I like that.
When my wife and I went out to DC and saw Rod and his wife, and he grabbed the check, and I was taken aback for a minute. So I was confused, because he was like, "No, I got this," and for a minute I was like, "What am I supposed to do?" And it was just something that caught me off guard too.
Yeah.
I would have ordered way more if I had known. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. Everybody wants to take, they just can't accept like a gracious, like, thank you. It's like, oh, I should have done it because you're paying for it. And that's
Yeah.
the unfortunate
He's
part.
joking. We had a good dinner. That was really good dinner.
It did catch me off guard because
I was caught off guard too. I was like, oh, I'm not used to this. But we've been here for an hour and 5 minutes.
Yep.
And I just
Ooh.
want to thank you because this is really good information. And men really think differently than women. But you guys are a lot more mature. You're mature men. And there's a lot of immature men. And that's what's out there in the world. So thank you.
You're welcome. And I got to admit, there's another side of this because I do know one couple where the wife has been the predominant breadwinner for 2 decades. And the man has not, in my opinion, pulled his weight. And he's our age. And it's hard because there are men. Not every man is like assertive and wants to slay the dragon and put food on the table and be a good husband. I shouldn't, that's a value judgment. There are some men that are content with saying, you know what, go out, bring in the money. As long as we're all comfortable, I don't have to put out much effort.
Ooh.
But there are also situations
That hurts.
I know of a couple that have kids where she makes more money because she has the potential to make more money.
Mm-hmm.
And as a family, it makes a lot more sense for him he works to continue doing what he does because he has a flexibility with the children. And if they were to reverse roles where she took more on that, their family income would be lower. So I don't think it's necessarily a value judgment.
Yeah.
I think there's a family dynamic that you have to take into consideration. It's like, what's in the best interest of the family? And that's how their family works. It's a conscious decision that she can bring in more money. So therefore we need to let her bring in more money.
That's
and
right.
I will spend more time doing the domestic things. So
100%.
But that's the key. It's the balance. It might, so then you have to pick up somewhere else. And a lot of times the men don't want to pick up. They just want, you bring in the money, you still cook, clean, all this stuff. But it has to be a balance that works for the family.
Yeah, everybody's got a role to play.
Yeah,
everybody has a role to play.
Our very close friends that live in Europe, the wife is a chief human resource officer. She's been moving around the United States, other countries, and she got the visa, she got the jobs because she's a CHRO, and he was always the one that had to stay at home and raise the kids. But it was understood those are the roles. Mm-hmm. It's going to be hard for you to find a job because you don't have the visa, you don't have the sponsorship from an employer. I do. I'm making a crap ton of money. Be a good stay-at-home dad. Mm-hmm. And it worked perfectly for them, as long as you have a role. Mm-hmm. To your point, Ella.
Well, and you fulfill your role.
Exactly.
Without bitterness and grudge and all that. So this is really great. And we're kind of running out of time. So I'm just going to skip my closing remarks. I mean, really, because I don't have one.
We'll table your parting shot to another time.
I'll table my parting shot to next time.
Okay. Well, this has been a lot to chew on, a lot to digest, and hopefully, if there are women and men out there who are, travailing over the male-female roles in the relationship, hopefully this has given some perspective that will hopefully be of some help and some encouragement, because really, I think in the times that we live now, the finances are an even bigger part of the decision of coupling up, whether it's marriage, dating, or otherwise. And everyone's got something that they've got to bring to the table, because otherwise life can be, a little bit too hard and stressful. So Ella, thank you for that topic.
You're welcome.
Darren and Ron, thank you for your astute male analysis. And thank you guys for joining, and for any comments and feedback. We'd love to hear from you. So please do drop a comment and like and share. We've got issues. We're always interested in bringing you something of value. So that's it for this time, and we will see you guys on the next one. So until next time, take care of yourself.
Peace.